Good afternoon. If you are tuning in today, I'm so excited to be able to do this segment, which is entitled Why Direct. And so I'm Z, the support representative for the Northwest Georgia Powder Springs area. And I believe that as we strive to build strong and vibrant communities, it's really the directors that make it all come to be. And so our directors are our heroines and our heroes. And I have two wonderful directors today who are going to be sitting in on this session and giving us their why for directing. And I hope that it will bless someone that may be out there that may be thinking about, what does this role look like? Am I able to do it? And so I hope you will get some of those answers. So I want to welcome today Julie Ostrike and Jill Marks. Okay, so we're going to jump right in. Thank you, ladies, for taking this time out to be a part of this interview. And my first question is, how long have you been a director and what programs have you directed? So if you will start first, Julie.
I have been a director since my oldest son started Challenge One, and I took it on because there was no other director. I was not familiar with classical education when I started directing, so I've learned a lot over the years. I did Challenge One for 2 years. I did Challenge Three for 3 years. I did Challenge B, and I'm doing Challenge Two this year.
Wow. Wow. So you were brand new into classical conversations and you jumped right on in.
Right, brand new to classical education and classical conversations, all the same year, jumped right in.
Wow. Wow. Okay. What about you, Jill?
I did something similar. I actually wasn't a homeschooler at all until a year before I directed. When I found classical conversations, I did foundations tutoring, and then the next year there was a need for it, and I saw it as a way to financially pay for my own family to do the program. So I decided that I could fill that need and it could bless my family as well. And I've been doing it now. This is my 5th year. I've done B 2 years and Challenge One for 3 years. And I have learned a lot, just like Julie. You learn something new every year. But it was to fill a need and to financially take care of my family's needs.
Wow. So you also kind of jump right in. And I think you both are just speaking to how you are able to do something that was brand new, that you didn't have necessarily a full kind of understanding of, but also about the need that it met, not just for the community, but also for your own family. And that's really what my follow-up question was. What was your initial why, or what is your current why right now? And what has directing solved as a need or a problem for you? And I think, Jill, you kind of answered that. So Julie, if you'll jump in on your why and what need or has it solved for you?
Well, it solved a need for the community the first year because we were a brand new community, when the West Cobb opened. So, and I needed my son to have a program. So I jumped in to direct his program. This year, I am continuing to direct because now my younger son is coming through the Challenge program, and it is helping me to stay closer with him. I'm keeping on top of his schoolwork better. I'm understanding what he's learning better to better be able to assist him to get a full rich education, as well as I really enjoy learning myself. And I said, this is my first year doing Challenge 2, although my older 2 children did it. I'm getting even more of an insight into Challenge 2. I'm sort of redeeming my own education through their education.
I love that whole idea of redeeming our education, and that you get to learn alongside your own child. And I love that you said that thirst for learning has even been sparked in you, another, desire to keep learning. So that's great. How would you both compare the role of a parent from the role of a director? Julie, you want to take that first?
Well, it's probably somewhat similar in that you still have to, manage your life. You still have to keep everything moving. It keeps you on track, keeps you a little bit more disciplined to know, I've got class on Thursday, so I need to make sure that I've read the material. I need to make sure that I've looked at my students' material. I need to, keep my life organized so that I can, as well as manage my home, fulfill the needs of my family and my husband while helping with my community. That's very important to me and to my children, to have some community.
That's good. So Jill, would you put those two roles for someone that may be thinking, okay, as the parent, what am I doing in a CC community versus what is my role maybe at home versus when I'm directing? Do I take on that same parental role as a director? How is it different?
No, it's not the same in that I think the director dives into all of the material a little bit deeper than maybe the parent would. And we're there to assist the parent in anything that they're not able to fully dive into. The parent has to manage the student's time and make sure that they get their assignments completed and to grade. But as a director, I'm there if they don't understand something or they don't know what's coming up, or they can ask me questions. So I'm there to support them as they are in charge of their students' education and in charge of their homeschool. I'm the resource for them and their student if there's any issue that they need help with. That's how I look at it. And I've actually had the experience now of having because of COVID, my daughter is not doing Challenge 3 in a class this year because her class went virtual. And I got special permission to not have her in there. And I'm seeing what value the director is to me, because now I'm having to actually learn the chemistry because I don't have a director that's doing the work along with my child. I don't have that resource. So that's why I think CC is so great, because you have another person helping you.
That's so good. I love those rows. It sounds like what you're talking about. And I'm thinking about that Foundations Essentials mama who's now moving into the challenge, who may be thinking, because the roles look a little bit different because the parent is in class with the child and they're learning alongside the child. And so just what I hear you saying is that director, that shift into challenge is really the director is the mentor, the coach. When there's something that's not, a lack of understanding, they may be able to fill that gap, but the parent is still very much the authority. The parent is still very much the child's primary teacher. And I love how you say at home, you still have to ensure that your child is up to speed, that your child is doing the things to stay along with their own learning and education, but that the director really helps to provide that mentorship and that coaching, as well as to facilitate those discussions that go on and the conversations that happen in the class. So I think that distinction is needed because I don't know if all of our younger parents with littles may know that shift kind of flips where a lot of the material is occurring at home and then the child comes in ready. Whereas in Foundations, we're learning the material first in community and then we come home and we practice it. So that's a bit of a shift, but the director really is able to facilitate what the child brings in, coming in to the classroom. Would you say that's accurate?
Yes.
Awesome. Julie, did you want to add anything to that?
Not necessarily, but I do agree that that's accurate. What your role as the tutor is as the lead learner. So at home, your student has already read the material, already got everything together, and as the tutor, you come in and you facilitate the discussion. Any questions that they may have about what they read, you are able to answer those things. But the homeschool parent, you're not usurping their authority as a homeschool parent, which was an important thing to me as someone who had homeschooled a long time, was that, this is my homeschool and I want to do my homeschool, but I need some accountability. So, what the class did was gave me some accountability to make sure that my student was prepared to come in and have a rich discussion with the classmates and the tutor. So, and I said the tutor's job is to be a facilitator and a lead learner. So you don't need to be an expert. You just need to have the material read the same as the students would have done.
That's so good. Thank you for saying that. That lead learner, I'm learning alongside you. Good. So if you could share, how have you been able to balance the different roles of family, of faith, of being a director, of the business side, because that may be a new element for people that I am starting a business, right? And then being able to serve the community. How do you balance those things, Julie?
Well, you have to be organized. I don't think it's the end of the world if you're not organized, but it does take a little bit of organization. To me, the rewards are well worth the sacrifice of, scheduling my time. Maybe I get up a little bit earlier to have my time, my quiet time to myself, my time to study some materials to myself. Maybe I get up a little bit earlier. Some other people might like to stay up a little bit later to do that. It doesn't, your role as mom and keeper of the home is not diminished. So you have to find that time to balance your schedule. But to me, the rewards have been definitely worth it, to have that relationship with my children, to have that relationship with the other young people in the community has really been worth it. And to also enhance my own education has been really worth it.
So good. That whole idea of what you said, that the parent's role does not diminish, like that's still the priority. I still have my home as, the head of things, and that's at the top. And so, Jill, anything to add that you'd say of how you've been able to balance?
I would say just having a time designated for my own kids and a time designated for my Challenge 1 prep or whatever level you're directing. Usually on Fridays, I don't work on Challenge. I do my work with my kids, and then I do my groceries or errands or whatever I need in the afternoon. And then normally the other 3 days, sorry, dogs. The other 3 days are usually spent at least half of my time is for my own children, at least the whole morning and maybe a couple hours after lunch. And then my prep for Challenge is maybe from 2 to 5 or 3 to 5. And I just have to separate those things. For a while, the first couple of years I was directing, I tried to do my Challenge work while they were working on it. And then they'd keep interrupting me. It was very frustrating. But I realized I need to, since my family comes first, that's what I put first. That's what we do first. And once I know everybody's taken care of and doing independent work, then I spend time on the director job. So I don't try to do it all at the same time. That just doesn't work. So I've learned that just having a time for everything.
Jill, would you say, sorry, Z, I'm not meaning to.
You go.
Would you say that my children seeing me studying has made them more eager to learn, that they see that I'm still interested in the material, that I'm, wanting to discuss the material at home, has, made an impact on their desire to learn. So I feel like that's been beneficial for my family, for them to see me studying too, to see me as the lead learner at home, that it's important to work on the work.
Yes, I think so. I mean, I still have some unenthusiastic learners at my house, but I think that me being down here with them does keep them going. Not up there doing housework, but me being down here in the schoolroom doing stuff definitely keeps them going. And, we're all doing school. I'm not, I'm here too. I'm doing it too. So, I mean, it helps. It doesn't mean that my kids love school, but I think it does help for sure.
Yeah, I think the benefit of what you're talking about, Julie, is that it really hits on my next question, which is, what do you say to a director, to someone that is potentially interested, but they feel like they have to have a master, have to be a master teacher, or they have to have this role down. And what I hear you saying is, it's that place where we get to be vulnerable and be open with the fact that we're still learning. We have not grasped it all. We don't arrive, so to speak. But even our children and our students get the opportunity to see that we wrestle with things, that we struggle with certain things, that there may be certain subjects we are not, as well equipped to handle than others. And so that idea that we can continue learning and it be okay, because I think sometimes too, as moms, it's like, you're supposed to have it together, why is your stuff not together kind of thing. And so the CC really encourages that we don't have this place of feeling like we have to have it figured out. And that's that grace in speech and that humility, humble learners, So go ahead. And Julie, anything you would say for that? Just someone who may be interested in maybe saying they feel like they have to have it all figured out.
No, you definitely don't have to have it all figured out. I've had students who were considerably better at, say, Latin than I was. And I love that. I love for them to tell me, oh, don't you think that that's an ablative of absolute, Mrs. O? Don't you think, this? I love for them to instruct me as well. So, as a tutor, you have to be open to that, if you have a subject that you're struggling in, number one, that's fine. That shows the student that you're working to learn. And I tell them, My brain is old. If I'm still working on learning something, your young, placid brains can learn it easier than I can. And I've had students stand up at the board and show me how to do a logic exercise, show me how to do a Latin exercise that I was struggling with, that they got it because their brains are younger than mine. And I don't feel any shame in that. They're supposed to be learning the material. I'm learning the material too, and we're all working together to pull it together.
That's good. So good. Jill, would you say anything directly to someone who may be thinking that they have to have it, all figured out beforehand?
You definitely don't, and you learn more every year. I mean, every year that you direct, you get more comfortable and you learn more. I mean, the first year you feel like you're failing a lot of times, but the kids are fine. They move on and do well in the next level, even despite your failures. And, if God puts the desire in your heart to do this, then he's going to equip you as much as you need to be equipped, even when you feel like you won't be there. I mean, and if there's a time where I just can't get it all done, then we'll just open the book and go through it. I mean, know how to ask the right questions and ask a student okay, is that right? What they just said, was that right? Like there have been times I think for every director that life happens and you're not able to fully prepare like you wanted to, but you learn how to ask good questions and to get the right answers or good answers and good discussion from kids. So the kids definitely help you. I did have a time just a week or two ago where I had a student and I said, I'm not sure if I understand why this is like this. And I said, why don't we just everybody look and see if you can figure it out? And then a student did figure it out. And then I was like, okay, so now that we know what that is, let's move on. And that was fine. So
That's so good to just that process of learning together and growing together and being okay with being at that place. That's so good. My final question for you two is just, what have been some other tools and resources that Classical Conversations has provided that has helped equip you in your role? Jill, you want to start with that?
yes. Well, we definitely have training videos, lots of training videos on most anything that's difficult. You can find something for it. There's resources available to parents and tutors. We get a little bit more instruction and more resources as directors on the Classical portal, which has a lot of those things answered already. So most of the time, if you have a question, somebody else did as well, and it's already been addressed. And also, if you can't find it addressed somewhere, we have our academic team that's there to answer questions. So you're able to directly ask them any questions that you might have.
Excellent. What about you, Julie?
One of the things that's new this year that I have really liked is they send out a weekly email with lesson suggestions and question suggestions for your level. So, if there has been a week where, like Jill said, that life happened and, the dog had to go to the vet and whatever else had to happen that week and you're running a little bit behind schedule, you can look at that and you can base some of your discussion based on what they've got on this weekly email that they send out for, semester 2, week 10, newsflash. And it gives you some help with your lesson planning for the week. And this is the first year they've done that. And that's been a real blessing to me, not to have to think of everything that I needed to do every week, that even if I've gotten everything done and read, sometimes they have a better idea than I did. So I'll just take their idea.
Yes. I'm shaking my head in glee because I wish I had some of those helps like my first year even as a tutor, because now I send it out as the Foundations Essentials Director to my tutors and they're like, oh, they had an idea there I didn't even think about. And it's like you said, it's one of those weeks you're dragging and something has happened in life and you're like, I can go right there and I can use something and pull something that's already been available to me. And it's simple enough that I can, carry it out. And so I love that CC is trying to listen to the feedback from parents, from directors, from other people that are in community to be able to find what would be useful for our directors and for our tutors and for anyone that will help us be better, and feel more equipped to do these jobs and these roles. So I just want to personally thank you both for taking this time out again to be a part of this interview. And I know it's going to bless somebody. I think sometimes we just go through life and we don't necessarily aren't able to share as candidly what's been happening in this role. And I think it helps for people to hear that as they may have some question that has just been answered by both of you. So thank you, Julie and Jill, so much for being a part of this interview. And for anyone that may still have some questions or be interested, you can feel free to reach out. I am Z Satterwhite at classicalconversations.com. And I would love to be able to provide some of those answers, as well as our wonderful directors. If you're in their community, they are assets that you can utilize at any time to ask them those questions and to get more understanding about the roles that they've played. And as you can see, they're still here. That means they survived. And I like to say they're thriving in their roles. I just appreciate you both, and thank you so much for being a part of this interview.
Thank you, Z.
Thank you, Z.